2023 was a weird whirlwind of a year for Naughty Dog. They started off with the premiere of a brand new HBO centered around The Last of Us that brought this post-apocalyptic saga of Joel and Ellie to a brand new audience. It was a major success and helped generate a lot of sales for their Last of Us games. But ever since the show aired, and at perhaps the peak of Naughty Dog's popularity, they continued to drastically begin faltering over and over again. Their PC port of The Last of Us Remake was released in an unacceptable state, and their Last of Us centered multiplayer, a game they began talking about and promised news for, was delayed, with concerns that players would not be willing to play this game for long. The writers and actors strikes happened, seeming to put the successful TV show's future in jeopardy. There were also major Last of Us days like the 10-year anniversary of the original game and the annually celebrated Last of Us Day that went by with Naughty Dog completely silent, seemingly okay to let their fans be disappointed. Layoffs occurred, employees, even longtime ones like co-president Evan Wells and the recently promoted head of technology Christian Gerling have left the company. The bad news just seemed endless. But as we enter into a new year, it seems you can't keep a good dog down. Dr. Pooplove here, and today I want to talk about Naughty Dog's audacious plans for 2024. Let's get right into it. And what we know is that Naughty Dog has committed to starting off 2024 strong with The Last of Us Part 2 remastered, something that I initially was not very excited about. But this edition includes some welcome additions, some early development lost levels, and a new roguelike mode called No Return. Both seem to offer some fresh new Naughty Dog content. And yeah, this isn't a fully fledged new game, but this is very welcome, especially with a $10 upgrade path. But I think there's more going on here, especially with the No Return mode, which I believe is a sleeper cell agent of some sort, working to help Naughty Dog with what I still think their next game is, and that is The Last of Us Factions 2. We know about the delay, and we know that the main reason for it was Bungie's review and having concerns that player engagement would be too low. And there's been a lot of fears of a cancellation of this project, but the game's director, Vinith Agarwal, confirmed recently on Twitter that they are still working on Factions 2. And I think this No Return mode could be able to help Naughty Dog get that game to where it needs to be. See, it has these daily run challenges that are part of the game, meant to keep it fresh, offer a little leaderboard competition, and give players a reason to keep coming back. And so I think Naughty Dog may be using this mode to collect some data on player engagement and use that to better inform them on how to design things for Factions 2 in order to keep players engaged on that project. My guess for Factions 2 is at this point they're probably shooting for a 2025 date, but I do think that much of the hard work in getting this game to meet that Bungie live service expectation will be determined through the work that Naughty Dog puts in 2024. Now, to add more in this very eventful year, they are also beginning filming for the next season of The Last of Us, which is planning to start right at the beginning of 2024. And season 2 is likely to premiere in 2025. In anticipation of that, I think we can also expect to see a PC port of The Last of Us 2 remastered later on in the year. Hopefully this time with some lessons learned. But that is definitely not all. Naughty Dog has been quiet, dangerously quiet, about their next single player game. But we know one is coming. Now look, I know a lot of people think that Factions or even this Part 2 remastered has greatly slowed down Naughty Dog's progress on their next single player game. And maybe there is some truth to that. But Naughty Dog has multiple teams working on multiple projects. They have a dedicated multiplayer team that they have specifically tried to ramp up for the multiplayer project. They also have a lot bigger of a single player team that they have been building up for since the release of The Last of Us Part 2. I highly doubt that since 2020, Neil Druckmann has just been sitting on the sidelines waiting for the multiplayer to come out before he can get started working on the next single player game. Actually, quite the opposite. I would suspect that he actually has an A team at Naughty Dog full of devs that have been working on something since 2020. This even seems to be backed up by VGC's Jordan Midler, who recently said that he heard his Naughty Dog is actually full steam ahead ahead on their next single player game, and that a lot of the effort put towards this new Last of Us Part 2 remastered was performed by some of the newer hires and a smaller subset of their team. So the new game is coming. The question is, what is that new game? We know they wish to expand to new IPs, and we know they have moved on from Uncharted, so it could be that their next game is a new IP with a new world and new characters. But we also know that The Last of Us Part 3 is just a matter of time. The story skeleton is done, and the success of the show undoubtedly necessitates a more satisfying conclusion than what we got with The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 3 is happening, and I actually believe that both a new IP and TLOU 3 are in some form of development at this point, but probably only one of them is likely in that deep, full-scale, let's get this thing done development. Now, to top this all off, we know that Naughty Dog is helping in some sort of a consulting capacity on a new Uncharted that's mostly probably getting done by the Visual Arts Service Group. We don't know where things are with that, but Visual Arts did recently have some layoffs, so there could be some issues with that. But I still think we're gonna see another Uncharted. There seems to be a new Uncharted movie in the works, and there's even hopes for a Jack live action game to maybe haunt our dreams. And while I don't think that would lead Naughty Dog to make a new Jack game, that may open a door for another studio maybe to make a Jack remake or a new Jack game in the series. So yeah, Naughty Dog is working on a lot, and it does seem like there's a bright future for a lot of their IPs. And look, maybe some of this faltering that we saw in 2023 is them trying to adjust to this multiple project development. It is something that is probably a little bit newer for Naughty Dog, something that they still need to adjust to. And no doubt this has been messy at times, but Naughty Dog has also been restructuring their leadership team, likely as a way to respond and be better at this multi-project management. They recently did an internal organization shakeup, and they have hired a lot of people over the past couple years. And look, I still don't like how silent they are, especially to their multiplayer fans, but this silence is clearly deadly. Those teams are heads down, getting the job done, and I think 2024 will be a big proving year for Naughty Dog, that they are still the top of the industry. But what do you think? And if you want to see a deeper dive about Naughty Dog's next game, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, you should check this video out. But otherwise, so long, Pooper Troopers.